Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hunt for More podcast, episode 4. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Ryan Chief Gentry, the man, the myth, the legend. I call him Chief because he's the boss of everything. He's always, you always need Chief, not too many Indians kind of thing. But he's the boss man around these parts. That's what we call him. We're going to get into some of his backstory today, and he's going to be telling us a little bit about who he is as a person, how he got there.
I thought this was just about hunting.
What's that?
I thought this was just about hunting.
Oh, it's
Who
about
am I? Am a person.
it's about a lot more than just hunting,
Wow.
my man.
Okay.
But
Well,
want to address the fact that
You're a
it's been a few
human.
weeks since the last podcast. We're doing our very best. Life's really busy. We don't believe in excuses. But we're trying.
there's valid ones.
Yeah, but it's been rough. But we're excited. Excited for another episode here. Get to hang out with the fellows. Get to swap some stories and learn a little bit more about each other and a little about that there is more to hunting than just killing animals.
There's more to hunting.
What defines hunt for more if you were to put a definition on it? What is hunt for more?
The hunt for more.
The Hunt for More podcast.
If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. So, as be it with the podcast, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. Does my hat look okay?
The hat looks pretty good. That's what we were just talking about.
We need to make more. It's quite a hit. The people want more.
There's been
We
some
do.
teasers of gear recently.
There has been.
Pretty
yeah,
excited
there has
about
been.
it.
We need to roll out some new hats, some more shirts, a little bit of everything. Gonna look all,
I would like
all
one of
snazzy.
everything, just so the record is clear.
Well, I'm gonna be real frank with you. We're not a clothing company. We're here to kill things.
But what if you
We'll
kill
do the
things
best.
looking sick?
There's people that make stuff for that already. That's a beautiful hat you're wearing, by the way.
I'm real
Is that the
excited about
waxed
this
canvas?
one. Oh,
Is it the waxed canvas
yeah.
yonder?
I
Okay,
had my eye on it since the moment I
Yeah.
saw it.
that's a good one.
Mail day was the best day a couple weeks ago. I've been it's been the new daily driver. Shout out to Out Yonder. I
Out yonder.
love it.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can kick it off, but I guess kind of, I don't know. I guess what got you kind of like into hunting and whatnot when you were a kid, and I guess kind of like I guess when did you start hunting?
Well, man, I try and think about it a lot because you feel like there's a lot of that's not like a uncommon question. Yeah, I would say I was probably a kid, but would you classify that hunting like what we do now? I don't know, man. The I have memories, sitting in
Yeah.
a deer stand in Kentucky with my dad, like a wooden elevated like box blind that had no top, and you just sit in it, and there's the rail, and that's probably my earliest memory of deer hunting. I couldn't tell you how old I was. I couldn't have been more than, I don't know, 6, 5. I don't know. But then you move to all the, running loose by yourself with the 20 gauge, squirrels, rabbits. Is that hunting? I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the early stages
Yeah.
of it. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like tough to gauge when it actually
Yeah.
like starts.
Dude, there was not a wild
Oh.
bird within a square mile of my house whenever I was a
Is
7-year-old.
it, like, I don't know if it's hunting though. I don't know if you can call that what we call hunting today.
It's like I would say it's like the building blocks, like the foundation.
I'll be honest. There in the old Sacramento mountains, I laid the hammer on quite a few raccoons in my early age. There on the porch, they come get the dog food, and at that point in time, I wouldn't have said, "Hey, I'm hunting." I was just smoking raccoons
Yeah.
off the porch. I don't, man. But yeah,
I guess
been a
more so
while.
like when did you like
Yeah.
start to take it more serious? Because I think we all kind of like grew up hunting, but then it was like, when did it become? I guess something that like meant something to you.
man, probably not till, I don't know, early, like probably end of high school, maybe. I mean, Cole, you know how that was. Cole was the same way. We were focused on athletics. Cole and I had the same baseball coach, same school. Coach Rhodes loved deer hunting. You know what I mean? Our baseball coach loved deer hunting. You talk
Yeah.
deer hunting with Scott all day long,
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
and encouraged, but you also like you didn't go you focused on sports, right? You focused on
Yeah.
school, on sports, on all of that. So in high school, the deer weren't really as much as it was encouraged. It wasn't a thing we did. I do remember, my dad and Taylor and Leo and Mario and his dad. We went deer hunting one season. Back when you could still buy the old OTC deer tags at Walmart in New Mexico. Um, and that was probably we got pretty serious. Like that was the first time like in high school that we were like, all right, let's kill some good bucks. Not just like let's if we see some deer, we're shooting some deer. That was like, hey, let's try and shoot some good bucks. And then it kind of, be honest, man, in high school I didn't too much care about deer hunting. I mean, we'd all shoot bows and uh 16, 17-year-old stuff. So like I said, like I don't know that you'd call any of that hunting. And like it is today where these you got we didn't have Instagram or none of that. And I'm older, quite a not old, but I'm old enough where we didn't have social media in high school. We just didn't. Like hey, Facebook wasn't a thing until college. And I remember like I don't know, probably 2006, 2007 when everybody's like, "Oh man, you heard of this Facebook thing?" It was like brand new. So we didn't have there was no influencers. There was the outdoor channel and what you saw on the outdoor channel. So there was like this focus of sports, right? Like in high school, it was sports. It was all sports. Sports, chicks, whatever. The hunting was like the random thing that you did sometimes with buddies or family, and just kind of is what it is.
So what
Yeah.
was the first animal that you like lost sleep over? Whether from excitement or like I messed this up or like you looked forward to it for months on end, like where did that part of it start?
That's a good question. I don't know that I've ever lost sleep over an animal until late in adulthood,
I
if
lost
that
sleep
makes
over my
sense.
first deer hunt.
No, I don't think I don't want to say I didn't care. I just didn't know that there was a thing to maybe I didn't know lost sleep was a thing until I joined the military, and then stress hits you, and then I realized that like, oh, this is worry you up all night worrying about. I don't know that I ever did that with an animal until probably pretty late into adulthood, to be honest.
But what was it?
The first one that I lost sleep over,
Mhm.
uh, Kaibab archery tag, early archery tag, Arizona. I think that was about 2012. I elected to not shoot a deer that would have been the biggest deer I've ever shot. Still to this day, because I was seeing other giant bucks, and you're talking, August archery hunt on the Kaibab. I was on the west side, drew the tag, and scouted. I was living in Phoenix at that time. I lost sleep over passing deer I shouldn't have passed to shoot deer that you're never going to shoot unless you're passing the deer I passed. So I think as a New Mexico kid, we don't have a ton of giant bucks around. So I think when I got that tag and I focused on, man, I want to kill a big old buck, right? Like I lost sight of what some big old bucks that we would consider big old bucks to shoot monsters. And I didn't tag out at all. And I think I lost sleep over that for sure. I think that was that first tag that I was like, dang it.
I should have shot that buck.
I should have shot. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking like passing a 190 buck because I've seen 200-inch bucks. And then I sit here and say that now, and I'm like, yeah, I probably would have still done the same thing, maybe. I don't know.
But that is vastly different
I
than
definitely lost sleep over that though.
yeah, but that's
I think I
vastly
lost sleep
different.
over that because I knew that as soon as I left Arizona, I would probably never draw that tag again, and I didn't fill that tag. And back then, I cared more about filling tags, I think, than not. Not that I still care about filling tags, you know.
But now it's a little bit more about like, if I'm not going to shoot something of quality, then it's like okay not to shoot something. Where
Yeah,
like
yeah.
back then it was more
Like if
like,
I'm
oh,
passing a big deer to shoot a bigger deer and I don't fill my tag, I'm not too butthurt about that. But then at that point, I think that was the first time that I was legitimately making a decision to not shoot a particular deer to shoot a bigger deer. And I don't want to say it came by and bit me in the rear, but I guess you could say it did.
yeah. Well, and like that's probably like your first like premier deer tag that you drawn. So it's kind of
No,
like
yeah.
the
Well,
expectations
100%.
there. If you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is I'm gonna kill like my biggest deer today, and then
Yeah.
you don't shoot one, you're like, oh, this like this sucks.
I didn't shoot anything, and I broke a ball joint in my Tacoma. So it was
Oh yeah, dude. It's like kick you while you're down. It's just not good.
yeah.
Dude, when it rains, it pours.
And I'm a big deer guy. Like even at that point, I loved deer. Like I absolutely loved deer. And so for me, it was like this was my premier. This is my most premier deer tag at the time of my life. And I told myself when I passed that buck, he came kind of down out of some there's some pines up there on the west side of the Kaibab if you've ever been there. And then there's like some openings, and every water hole has like 14 different blinds with all full of dudes on it. So I wasn't hunting water holes, but in August all these guys are hunting water holes. And so I'm just hunting like pinch points from the side of the hill down into the water hole and kind of the pine trees. And there was a really good spot. The east side had burned. I was not too far across the highway on the west side. And I had a really good spot that I was watching deer come off the east side over the highway, funnel down into this little spot down into the west side where a water tank was. Well, there's like 5 dudes sitting in this natural water hole. And I'm sitting up in the pines, and I've watched this deer multiple times. I had scouted, I've been up there, watched this deer, and I mean, when I tell you I passed this deer, I mean, he was within 30 yards. Just let him walk right
Oof.
past. And I mean, giant deer. Yeah, back then, I don't know that I was the best at scoring deer, but I knew what a 190, 200-inch deer was, and he was every bit of a 190 deer. But the other 2 deer that had been with him were every bit of,
Well,
205,
and like back
210
then, like
bucks.
that wasn't
Yeah.
uncommon. I mean, that was
It wasn't
that was the
uncommon
norm.
on the Kaibab.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty standard. And so I've got these other 2 bucks. Now I got drawn on both of the other 2 bucks 2 or 3 different times, just never had good shots. So it's not like I never saw them. I mean, I hunted them, and I drew on them a few times just down in there in those really, there's like some like buckbrush type stuff, like oak. Like I don't even know what it's called, but it's pretty thick. And I was in there, was just hunting them all in there. Everybody's driving roads, sitting water tanks, and man, I tell you, like I was determined to kill one of those 2 bucks, and I just ran out of time.
How
Ran
many
out of
days was
time.
it?
Man, I can't remember how long. It was a long hunt, but I only had so many days off work.
Yep.
I was a brand new young staff sergeant at that time, and I was actually in QA, and yeah, I only had so many days off work. I think I had like a 4 days off with a weekend kind of thing.
Yep.
And I actually elected to go early and scout before the opener. Yeah, no, that if we're talking about lost sleep, that's lost sleep over that one.
Yeah, and then I guess like
Since that day, I've never let a 190 buck walk 30 yards from me.
yeah, I don't know if another one has walked 30 yards from you.
No.
But like I guess like touching back, like like you in the Air Force, like how has that kind of worked with like hunting and just like in general? Because you got into the Air Force pretty young, right?
No, not really. I think 21 when I joined.
I would say that's
Yeah.
subjectively young, but we're
Yeah, I
biased
mean, it's
because
young.
people
It's
join
young.
at 17 where their
Mhm.
parents
Yeah,
have
for
to sign
sure.
the waiver
Yeah.
for them. But
Yeah, I graduated high school, went out to Virginia to school, came back to New Mexico State, was in school, just not that I wasn't struggling, but I just wasn't, I don't know, I wasn't feeling it at the moment. And my plan was to always join the Air Force, and so I said, well, I'll just do it now. Yeah, I'll finish school once I get in and do all, and I did. I finished school and continue to go to school and all the professional things they tell you need to do and make you do, and society, not the Air Force, but well, I mean, I guess the Air Force still requires the degrees and whatnot, but yeah, I wouldn't say I just experienced life for 2 or 3 years, figuring things out, and then finally joined. And I would say that is probably when I really got serious about hunting because I, growing up in New Mexico, we kill one deer a year, and that's it. That's what you get. We do a lot on we didn't bow hunt much. I didn't bow hunt at all, other than the old rabbit adventures. But rifle hunting was a thing. I don't know. What do you say, Cole? When we were all younger, most of us were rifle hunters.
Yeah, pretty much.
First and foremost, before archery. So I get stationed in Florida, right? And I'm like, all right, Florida, all right. My dad's actually from Florida, so having a Florida man as a father, I knew what I was getting into going to Florida. So I was a little bit like, okay, you can do some redneck stuff down here, kill some things. So I bought a bow. Now down there you can't rifle hunt, right? So it's not where I was at. The areas I was hunting, you use shotgun, muzzleloader, or archery, and I was like, what kind of idiot shoots a deer with a shotgun? Right, me being from New Mexico, like, of course, there's tons of guys in the South that shoot deer with shotguns, but
That deer was the
for us,
shotgun.
us
I
Westerners,
feel
I was
personally
like,
attacked.
I remember
"Kinda
seeing it
jackwagon
like on
shooting
the
a deer with a shotgun."
yeah, I saw it on the Sportsman Channel as a kid, and I was like, "What is this person doing? Like, what a hillbilly!"
Shh, shh.
Yeah. And so, a muzzleloader. I'm like, that's not gonna get a muzzleloader. Back then, muzzleloaders were for the old guys. We didn't have these fancy arrowhead muzzleloaders. Um, so of course I'm like, I'm gonna get a bow. Me and my buddy Jamie. Jamie's actually on his way right now to go hunt turkeys with Matt in Iowa. So me and old Jamie, we another Air Force dude, who's now one of my best friends, but we hunted the crap out of the panhandle, man. We wore them deer out. And down in Florida you can kill, season opens like October 20 something, and it runs through February, right? So if you're good with a bow and know how to set a tree stand and find these deer, and you can wear them out. You can kill 2 deer a day every day of the season. You just can't have any more than 6 in your possession at any one time. And a Florida whitetail in the panhandle, that sucker's a meal right there in itself. You can shoot a deer and eat it in a day. So it's like, yeah, you can get triple digit bow kills real quick when you're wearing out some does, putting it to them. But what was cool about that is, I didn't bow hunt a ton in New Mexico, and this was probably 2007, 2008. Man, I was running through broadheads, dude. I was running so many different combos. I was tinkering with everything. And there's no like, oh, I'm gonna go shoot this in this foam target and be like, this is the arrow. Like, nah, man. Like, I was testing on some does. Like,
Like that,
and of course,
that one flew a little bit to the left.
Yeah,
Hit him a little back there, but it'll be all right.
not gonna use that combo again. That arrow, the little FOC was a little off on that one. Man, I actually lost a doe to an alligator too. That was fun times.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
Yeah.
you, do you ever have any weird calls like where you're trying to find something late at night and like you start hearing some noises, you're like,
Dude,
nope, I'm out.
The bears in North Florida, let me tell you,
Really?
bears, huge. Uh, Every bear I saw was a booner, and let me tell you, the Lord's temptation on that one, right? We're in a place where the bear is a protected species, but it's an over-the-counter tag at home, and you're seeing a booner every time you see a black bear. Oh man,
Yeah,
The
you're like,
Lord
"Oh,
is the Lord is tempting me right now.
praise the Lord, Golly. Dude, so many bears. There's just so many bears, alligators everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I would hunt kind of like there was some like some, what do they call them? Bayous kind of. I would hunt, the brackish water, and man, I had a doe. I hit her pretty good. I shot her far, bro. Far, man. You see in a tree stand, you can launch some arrows. Let me tell you what. And back then, I'm telling you, like, I was ethical, but there was just like,
Most of
in
the time.
Florida, shooting 80 yards was unheard of, man. These guys are like, your bow shoots to what? And I'm like, yeah, man, I shoot out to 80. And they're looking at you like you're some sort of,
like you're the devil." And I'm like, "What on earth?"
yeah, like you're a lawbreaker. And I'm just like, what do you mean you guys don't shoot this? So I'm like the weird guy in the tree that's got an 80-yard pin. And so I hit this doe, and she ran through, palmettos in North Florida. They're, waist high. The palmetto plants kind of look like yuccas, but more of like a tropical. I call them the tropical yuccas. And dude, snakes. Let me tell you, the rattlesnakes
Oof.
like that big around
Oof.
everywhere. So I'm always wearing snake boots and um, dude, I shot this doe one time and she tore off through the palmettos. I could just barely see her head just, bobbling as she run off. And I heard her run down into one of the sloughs and I heard water, all the water. And I'm like, oh yeah, she died right over. Like she's dying over there, man. She's giving her last kicks and all that. And it all stopped. And I go down, and I promise you, like it was so violent that I'm like, oh, she's done. I'm getting down, and going over there. I walk over there, and I start hearing like like this chatter and stuff like that. And I get over there, and I'm like, oh, and there's a very large alligator with my doe.
Like, you know what, man, you keep her.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's the violence.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if her, running right through there. I don't know. I don't know if she just kind of like happenstance to just die right at him and he was there. And I'm hunting kind of an area off a golf course, right? There's like these areas we can hunt. And there's this alligator that was always on one of the tee boxes, and he was like a 12, 13 foot gator. And I'm almost positive it was him. Because when I saw that thing from about 10 yards away before I realized what I was walking into, my heart stopped, right? And that's still to this day. I've been around mountain lions, wolves, and man, that thing.
Were you standing in water
I
at the time?
yeah, oh, everything's water in that area. Like when you start going down in those sloughs, you're in ankle deep water, regardless.
Nope.
Um,
I wouldn't be.
yeah, I mean,
would've
but
stopped hunting.
no, it is wild, man. I had a giant bear climb my tree stand. Florida was just wild, dude. Like, I got so many reps in Florida, it's not even funny. Just so many reps. And again, like you come back out west and people think you're an arrogant, dick because you're like, I've killed more things with a bow than your granddaddy and your daddy and all this, like, and they're just looking at you like, what? And then like, we don't need to talk about how many does are in that equation, but yeah, I killed a lot of bucks down there too. Like I'm not nothing to write home about, nothing on the wall from Florida. I think like I talked to you guys before, the biggest deer that I think we all were aware of down there is the one Dan was chasing. He has sheds of. He was a 160 buck, and that's like a 200-inch deer for the Florida Panhandle. 160 buck down there on in the swamps right there. I mean, because we're right on the coast, Destin, Fort Walton Beach, Panama City Beach. We're hunting all of that right there. And there's tiny deer.
Just sandbar in the afternoon and then
Yeah,
tree stand in the evening, huh?
I mean, we really would, man. We'd work, dude. We'd work swing shift. We'd work till midnight, 1 o'clock, and then we'd go flounder gigging, and then we go get in a tree stand.
That is crazy.
That was that. Yeah.
So here's how I'm kind of hearing this. Typical childhood, like most people. You played sports, you went hunting with dad whenever you could, this, that, and the other. Good crack there. Then
it's just an iced tea, don't worry.
Pivot point, going to college, getting in the Air Force, and really get your feet wet, no pun intended, on the archery talk. Then what would you say was like the next big pivot point in life after that, right? Whether it's hunting related or not, was it for Ryan or was it for Ryan's hunting career? Was it his actual career? What was it?
Man, I think, we found at that point in time, that was the old F-15C models that we were assigned to the old 95th down there. And those aircraft were a mess, dude. Those were rough. I caught that, by the way.
Caught what?
Yeah, we'll leave that for a later time. Dude, but those aircraft were a mess, right? The flying schedule was crazy. Ops tempo was crazy. And we worked like dogs, man. And so that was our thing is Jamie and I would that was our escape, right? From that kind of grind. I mean, that was a grind. Like that assignment was a grind. Those years were rough. And so like Jamie and I would disappear into the woods, and when I say disappear, you could disappear in the North Florida woods, man. You could get way away from anything and everything and get lost, and that's what we did. Drank a lot that that uh that season of life, right? Just young guys trying to figure out where you fit in the grand scheme of the United States Air Force and the grind that can be, as you know.
That was called
Um,
Kunsan for me.
yeah, yeah. Well, I've been there, done that. I got the T-shirt and the nightmares. Uh,
And the PTSD.
yeah. Um, so like that was our thing, right? Hunting became such a strong thing there, and we'd fish. I don't fish. I could care less to fish, but it was just like, man, this is better than work. Everything was better than work at that point in time. That we were doing a lot. That flying schedule was rough. Um, and it just became a thing where it became, from October to February, deer, kill as many deer as we can. And then from February to the next October, it was fish as much as we can. We were rigging out John boats and doing all that to just get lost. And before you knew it, 3.5 years had gone by, and you were leaving, and we were all, I think Jamie had gone to Seymour Johnson, and I was headed to Arizona, and you remember all the times, in the boats late at night, and just he was from West Virginia. I was from New Mexico. Like, we don't belong in Florida, but we made the best of it. And we went, I won't even tell you where I took a John boat. It could probably is illegal, actually. In fact, I don't know that you are allowed to go outside the jetties with a John boat, but we did it, man. We did it. We did whatever we did to just
You give too many
escape.
rednecks too much free time, and there's
Yeah.
nothing good that's
Well,
gonna
we weren't
happen.
even rednecks. We were just like, these people are wild down here. This Florida man's a real thing. And, my dad being from South Florida, I would always joke. But, mother's from New Mexico, dad's from South Florida. What a combination there.
You're just asking for it at that point.
Yeah.
You put
What
meth and
I'll
green
wear
chili
anybody
together,
out
you
in the
get Ryan
woods.
Gentry.
Yeah, meth and green chili. Oof.
Yeah. You don't know what you're going to get out of me in the woods, man.
Oh,
Which
that's
side's going
funny.
to come out? The native New Mexican or the Florida swamp man?
Yeah, you might come out as like a cholo, or you might be coming out like just full crazy naked. I mean, you never
Yeah.
know.
No teeth,
Yeah.
just
So
ripping.
yeah, like hunting became a an escape for me. Like,
Oh, weird.
right? Like you said, hunting is healing. And I didn't, that you use that term, hunting is healing, and I didn't know what that I never saw hunting as healing until a very pivotal time in my life. To me, hunting was just hunting. We were just out there. As bad as it might sound, I'm not trying to make it sound bad. We were just out there killing, man.
Yeah, but it
Like,
was an escape from work, which was
it was
stress and
right,
busyness. So
right.
you were
Yeah, I mean,
healing. It was just a different. Wasn't trauma.
well,
It
I
You were
was
healing
your
probably
was
with
mental
that.
I was
health.
rage killing some does, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Man. And they happen to taste good, so you just let it out a lot.
Just letting it eat, dude.
Yeah, dude. So man, it was probably, and like I said, growing up with that not serious hunting background. Not that we didn't, like Cole knows. Everybody in New Mexico hunts. You just do. You go deer hunting. You go shoot an elk. You just hunt. It is what it is. You don't really think about it. It's not a thing. It's not like what you see on Instagram now or on YouTube. Like, we didn't care. We're gonna go deer hunt this weekend. All right, cool. Well, like, let's kill one quick because I'd like to be back for XYZ. Or, man, dude, there was days I'd probably rather just go hang with my burros at their houses, or we all would chill or go to movies instead of going hunting, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. It just wasn't something we really cared too much one way or the other. As long as we went out, shot a deer, shot an elk, well, whatever. Again, different time and place, right? Like, it wasn't pumped down your throats on YouTube, social media. I didn't have that in high school. It was watching ESPN. That's what we watched, ESPN, played golf. I
I'd
actually
like for
played
you to
golf a
refrain
lot in
from
high
ever
school.
saying "pump down your throat" ever again.
Oh, did I say that? Oh man. Well, I mean, with some of
The
these
local
influences
the
of the
local
day.
fighter pilot me is very not happy
Mm.
about that statement, but I see what you're saying.
Uh,
Yes,
Mm.
it's tough.
So yeah, again, just not something that wasn't culturally like in the hunting community, wasn't really a
Yeah.
thing outside of the cheesy lame shows on Outdoor Channel that some of them still exist. It just wasn't
Well, and back
some of them still. I can't believe some of these people are still personalities, bro. I used to watch them on the Outdoor Channel in 2002 and 3, and there's still people that are like, there's always, the husband and wife personalities, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
still a thing. I can
There's still
see
some new ones.
burning in my keep my mouth shut, but they weren't cool then, and they unfortunately, they may not know, they're still not cool, but I don't know. Companies are still sending them stuff and they're on shows, so who knows. But yeah, man, so like we didn't care. It was sports. It was sports.
Yeah.
And like I said, it wasn't until the Air Force that you're not playing organized team sports in the military. You're a team. You're an organized team, within your units and stuff, but we're not.
So
Just
then
it is.
hunting
That was your
starts
thing.
carrying a little bit more weight
Hunting
in life.
started becoming more the thing you look forward to, the thing you do.
So now the hobby, not just the thing.
Yeah. And so yeah, like, dude, I'm telling you, I'm thankful that Florida was my first assignment in the Air Force, because I was probably a pretty decent hunter already. I really was. Like, we would hunt. Cole knows where we'd hunt over by Duncan. We'd hunt deer in some rolling desert country. It's pretty hard to hunt deer. We'd hunt off mules, like legitimate four-legged mules,
Yeah.
not Kawasaki mules. But we'd hike a lot out there. Taylor and I would hike our butts off out there. I remember getting lost in a snowstorm with old Taylor. Literally wide out, and we had cheese crackers. Had 270s, and I'm like, I'm killing a deer, bro. Like, we're gonna get lost. And then, of course, good old New Mexico, the snow stops, sun comes out, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's 60
here we are.
degrees.
There's
yeah,
the truck.
It's gone.
So, like, I would say I was a really probably pretty proficient hunter already. I didn't dabble with a bow too much until I got to Florida. And like I said, it really built a basis of, I left Florida a serious killer.
Yeah.
Like, serious. Like,
Yeah, but then you take all that same experience killing a doe and like drawing on an animal is drawing on an animal. So you take that,
Yes.
now you're drawing on a 190 inch, and you're like, I think I'm gonna let him walk.
I've talked about that before.
Too soon?
Where, like, talking with Cole, like, man, when I've got a bow in my hand, I don't get buck fever with a rifle. I don't get jittery with a rifle. But when I got a bow in my hand, bro, like, I have shot so many deer with a bow that you just draw, you laser focus, settle your pin, let it rip, clap, and it's just another deer. And I love deer hunting. Florida made me love deer hunting. I had always loved deer hunting. For me, if I'm going to shoot an elk, I want to shoot a big bull. Cole and I feel the same way about that, I think. Like, everybody, there's like this giant romanticization of elk, and I don't have it. Now, granted, I grew up, back in the canyon in the Sacramento Mountains. Cole knows where my house was, and that I'd have elk, all September. I'm trying to shut elk up to go to sleep because they're just bugling right outside my window, right? So I don't have the same, like, oh my God, it's an elk. To me, it's just like, oh, there's this giant, stupid animal that won't shut up all night. Now, I love hunting elk. Now, there was a really strong season where I loved hunting it. I liked elk a lot more than deer for a while. But granted, I wanted to chase big bulls. I was solely about chasing big bulls. And that's kind of, I don't want to say it's faded, but I'm not looking to shoot a 280, 300, 310 bull.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it. I'd rather hunt elk once every 5 years and shoot a 330 plus elk, and then deer hunt every year. As long as I can kill multiple deer every year, I'm happy. Like, truly happy, enjoy hunting deer, right? So I leave Florida, get to Arizona. again, sole focus deer hunting. Where a lot of great deer hunting out there. Ended up, not tagging out on that kaibab tag, but ended up shooting, a couple other deer while living in Arizona. And then I get my assignment to the old Coonson, where Trent and I both have a lot of bad feelings and memories and times at that place. Two significant things happened in both of our lives at that duty station. And I would say that would be the pivotal moment when hunting became so much more to me. It literally became the foundation of who I am. Um, One night in 2014, I get a phone call from my dad, and my youngest brother was killed in an accident. And I had a lot of heartache with that. Another one of my best friends from the military, him and I were together. We were actually eating spicy bulgogi. We were drunk. And I get the phone call, and I wouldn't say we're not drunk, but we've had quite a few beers. You're stationed on an installation in the west side of South Korea. The grind there is truly the grind. Trent can attest to that. That is a grind that will grind the life out of you. I cannot foot stomp the word grind enough at that location. And you have opportunities to relax and hang out with buddies and partake in beverages. And that night, I think we had just come off a generation where we had ginned up a bunch of aircraft to
Support a flying
do some
exercise, probably.
do a large scale maneuver, elephant walk of sorts with another location, a couple South Korean forces. It was a rough week, so Matt and I were partaking in some beverages. We had been with the whole unit, right? And him and I had gone to the cat and got some bulgogi. We're gonna go to bed, and I get a phone call right at that time, and my dad's voice all shaky, and he's struggling to say it, and he tells me, and I kind of just stop for a minute, and it's funny how you like instantly sober instantly,
Mhm.
right? And put the phone down. Matt's like, "What's wrong?" And I told him, and instantly, to him, sober. We walk back to the dorm. We call the appropriate, commander, our boss, let them know what's going on, and I'm like, I need to get home. So they work some magic to get me home, but that time frame, from when I got the call to when I went home, that would have been where anything like that happens here. I'm taking I'm gonna disappear into the mountains for a minute. I just need some clarity. Well, I didn't have that there, right?
Yep.
I have cement walls all around me, and you're just sitting there, and
And copious amounts of alcohol always sitting
yeah,
around you.
yeah,
It's very
yep.
hard.
And it was tough for 3 days. I had some really good people in my corner. Yeah, good. The actual command chief happened to be a very close family friend of ours. Came to my dorm, sat with me, talked with me. Made sure I was good. Then I went home, did the funeral, did all that, and I came back. Flew back 4 days on the funeral. Came back. Hit the ground running, man. Back in the truck, back on the radio, back calling the shots, getting airplanes ginned and flying and doing all that, and didn't process it, man. I didn't process it. I didn't take care of it. I just went back to back here to crush.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you that. You're a guy that gets lost in work whenever life starts getting hard.
No, not really. But for that time, I did.
Yeah.
Well, you got your bros and you and guys like you that we're all counting on each other. You don't come back and not just get right to it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're a piece of a puzzle that when you're missing, a lot's missing, right? You come back, man, and you just get back to crushing. And I hit probably one of the darkest times of my life, right? And at that point in my career, I'd been in long enough. I'd had a few friends commit suicide. some fellow squadron members, some you're tight with, some you're not. But I had at that point in my career already, I had two really close friends that had committed suicide, and you start thinking about that stuff, and you're like, oh well, okay, I see. In the darkest depths of your despair, at 2 in the morning, you start thinking about, all right, well, I see how they got to this point, like.
Yeah.
Because you don't know any better, right? And there, I didn't have the outlet of hunting, right? I didn't have. So at this point in time, I was about to find out what hunting is healing really meant without knowing it, right? Um, long story short, I made it through those 8 or so months I had left. Um, but I never handled those demons. I never talked to anybody. This was a point in time in the military. It's 10 years ago. You didn't do anything but get right back to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Head down and get right back to it. You didn't handle any of that business. And childhood growing up, I have no relationship with my mother. You guys know some of that. Super verbally abusive, kind of. Not to say she's not a bad person. She didn't know what she didn't know. She had a rough childhood as well. But I was the oldest of both of my brothers, and for the youngest one to lose the youngest one in an accident, I felt some sort of, because I was kind of the deflector for all those
Hmm.
years of, I would take a lot of the heat from my mom and
You felt
get blamed for a
responsible
lot of
for them.
things. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I'm not there, and he's gone, and of all things, I was drunk the night it happened, and you start really like wearing that out and really dealing with that and not dealing with it, right? Like feeling guilty for even being drunk and having a real hard time with that, right? Because you're like, oh, I mean, it was just of course the one night I choose. So you start relating those. Your brain starts saying, well, anytime I drink, something bad's gonna happen, or XYZ, or anytime I'm gone on a deployment or something bad. And that later festered in another deployment where I went pretty much a whole deployment, never slept because I was afraid that I was gonna be woke up to a phone call of someone back home happening, something. Like, there was some serious problems there, right? And I never dealt with any of that up until about 3 or 4 years ago, probably 3 years ago, I think. Um, so get through that. Happened to request an assignment back to New Mexico. We have a F-16 base there in New Mexico. In lieu of what happened, I requested to go back there. I knew I needed to go home and live at home and be at home for a few years. So I got home and Cole and I would hunt a bunch. Jim, we'd hunt a bunch, and that's when I truly found that, like, okay, this is my outlet, right? This is the healing. This is the I never saw a therapist about my brother. I just hunted.
Yeah.
And you quickly realize that, all right, I'm able to work through this. Um, I'm able to work through this stuff and this mental stuff through hunting. Like, I don't actually need to go sit down and talk to a therapist. And I say that with 100% sincerity. Like, I do see one now. I talk to one now, but at that point in time, I didn't need that. I was still a strong-minded, strong-willed person. I wasn't, I just needed to process some sadness and some grief and some, unnecessary responsibility for my brother passing away, right?
Yeah.
And I was able to
Whenever you're
do
hunting,
that.
though, it allows you. Whenever you're back at the grind at Coonson, you're okay. I'm driving the truck. I'm working. We got a 16-hour shift. We have to generate 40 airplanes. There's no time for your mind to have that internal dialogue that turns
No,
into the
no,
processing that turns into the healing, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that's like really, and people can say like, oh, Trent, that hunting is healing doesn't mean anything. That's stupid. But what it is it's peace that is in your environment that allows your mind to open the scope a little bit and start
right.
having some of those conversations. So you weren't talking to a therapist about it, but what you're doing, dude, is you were finally allowing your brain to have that conversation internally and
Yeah,
start to
yeah,
work through it that way, right? Because your life has been chaos and you have 6 days of peace,
yeah. And I would say at this point, anybody listening to this, if you're struggling with anything in life, don't do what I did. Go speak to somebody,
for
right?
sure.
It's there, it's out there. Like, go get it handled. Go talk to somebody. There's no shame in that, right? And the Air Force was a different time 10 years ago. That it's not that same place now. It's heavily encouraged now. But back then, like that was not the right decision, right? I should have reached out to a professional, talked to a professional, because I hit a very dark time in my life still there at Kunsan, and something bad could have really happened. Like it was capable. I'm not. I got to a place mentally a few times where I was like, all right, I'm gonna break, and then I just you know how I am. Cole knows how I am. Like ain't no quitting here.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you get to that thought, and you're like, nah, no, there's still too much, right? So, but looking back on it now, as a senior leader now in the military, like I can tell dudes, like, hey man, don't do it. Like, let's talk to somebody. Like, and I can relate, right? Because I can say
Yeah.
I've looked the devil in the eyes at a time or two, right? I've been there and I've seen that, and it's not a thing. And which we'll jump to another situation here in a second. But yeah, I came home, man, and I was able to hunt a lot in New Mexico, and it took care of me. And we ended up with in that squadron there. Went through a couple more suicides, couple successful, some not, fortunately not successful, and individuals able to be rehabilitated. But you see that a lot, and that starts to really weigh on your mind, right?
Yeah.
In these close knit units, you start to really weigh that hits you hard, right? Whether you're looking at it as like a relation thing, or for me with my friends, it was like, whoa, am I not a good friend? Could you not ask for help?
Yeah.
Was there not an open door there to? Yeah, I would have figured, helped you figure out any of this stuff. But you start to take that personally, right? It's like you didn't do anything wrong. You were there. You. But man, some people they hide it good, man. And you never know. You never know what someone's truly struggling with. And I've seen guys gravitate to me because they're like, tell me more about this hunting thing. And you take guys out there, and then they're like, oh, okay. You can almost see that grand reset in their mind
Mhm.
when they're out in the wilderness for 3 or 4 days. Um, I don't know that it's anything that's worth anything, but I've seen it, I've watched it. And so hunting to me has kind of always just been this thing of like, I know when I need to really just disappear for a little bit. I don't even care if I'm hunting something. I know I just need to go do something. I need to get out and disappear for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I usually come back in a much better place. But I took an air advisor gig to a Middle Eastern country in 2020. And I think that was probably one of the catalysts to reaffirming that hunting is something that there's so much more to just being out there and doing that. And I've talked to you guys a little bit. There's we had something really bad happen on that deployment, really bad, like life changing, earth shattering, mental space bad. Being woken up in my compound in the middle of the night by some serious agencies. Um, Not the type of dudes you want to see standing at your door when you open it. Um, just some stuff went down that wasn't good. It was rough. And when you're the guy in charge, and not we didn't do anything wrong. It's just the nature of where we are, what happened, some things. And I have to be super cryptic and vague with it, but it was something that shook me to the depths that I hadn't felt since the day I got that phone call about my brother passing, right? So here we are in another situation where I am overseas doing something goes wrong, something goes bad. Um, you got guys show up on just some wild something wild, right? And you immediately affirm that, like, oh, see, I told you every time I go somewhere.
Yeah.
Then woke up in the middle of the night.
Restarts the cycle.
Right? It starts the cycle. It restarts the cycle. And then it was not only did that huge incident happen, we got kind of hammered on that one, man. Like there was 3 or 4 different instances that um that was probably the roughest year. That was a 365 deployment, and I will say that is the roughest 365 days of my entire 18-year career thus far in the military. It was just one hit after another of very bad and unfortunate events that sends you to a place mentally you don't ever want to be.
Yeah.
Some serious darkness, right?
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's almost even worse the second time around because now,
It's an expected thing now.
well, A, it's expected because now you're like, I've developed a pattern. And then
Mm-hmm.
B, the other thing is maybe at Kunsan, you didn't realize that, like, I know how I heal with these things now. And now you're
Yeah.
overseas, stuck for another 365. And you know, kind of like, okay, this is how Ryan can get through this, but that's 300 days away. So I just have to, it's like, you know, what's in front of you before you even walk through it. Whenever you're at Kunsan,
Mhm.
you kind of discovered it and had to
Yeah.
experience it.
Yeah.
But like now, it's like, no wonder you're saying you didn't sleep because you know what the next, 6 months
Yeah,
of your life
and
looks
this,
like, right?
I would say this, man, like I wasn't even in country for 72 hours when the first event. I mean, we were leaving embassy to go to a compound, and within 72 hours in country, and an interesting thing took place, and a week later you're getting read your rights, right? And you know how that goes, right? Incidents happen, they've got to figure out what's going on.
Yep.
Things happen, and it's nothing we did. There's a lot of outside forces and influences here I can't speak of. But just the whole stuff, right? And so it was just boom, and then the major one I was talking about, right, where the major, and this is my first time in a joint force leadership role, right? I've got Army and Marines, and well, golly,
Crayon
I'll
eaters
stick
are
to
no
just Air
joke,
Force
dude.
guys.
Those crayon eaters are no joke.
I love you, Matt, if you listen. But yeah, dude, like, it mentally, it wore you out, right? And you start thinking like, this is my first time in a senior leadership position, calling the shots and doing stuff, and you start like, well, damn, do I suck at this or what? Like, it's just, and it's nothing external factors. It's not us or my guys, or it was just like, okay, this is a lot, right?
I mean, but that's the same pattern from earlier too. You
Yeah,
have this innate responsibility that you feel to protect your brother, and there's nothing you could have done in that moment. You were in
right.
Korea, right? It's the exact
Yeah.
same thing, just a different chapter,
But I mean, both of them, I'm on it. Like, I am to the T on my crap, right? And bad stuff still happening, and it just starts to really weigh on you. Like, well, crap, okay. And so like that whole 365 went on, and I come back, and we're living in Nevada, and uh, I think that's when Cole first saw the mental toll of the military firsthand. I really do. Him and I went sheep hunting. Um, and I don't know. I'll let you speak on it, Cole. But yeah,
Yeah, it was different. Like it was like you went on like prior to the deployment. I want to say you and I sheep hunted like because the way the calendar fell, like we shot a sheep maybe like 2 weeks before you deployed or something, so you could shoot one before
Yeah.
you left, and then you got back and we like sheep hunted like immediately, and it was like a 180 person. It wasn't even. It was kind of weird because it's like I still talk to you all the time while you were deployed and stuff, but it was like
mm-hmm.
you came back a totally different person. It was like I don't even know who I'm talking to. Like we're out there hunting, and it
Yeah.
was like we're about to shoot a sheep, and he's just like sitting there, just like not like vegged out, but he's just like laying there, and I'm like, "Are you gonna shoot this sheep or like what's going on, bro?" And it was just different. Like,
I will tell you this, I dang rocked that. The skills never left me.
No,
I wasn't there mentally. I was in outer space, but boy, when I laid down on that gun.
yeah, well, like we were trying to shoot 2 sheep, and he laid down and shot the first one, and then just sat there. And I was like, "Move out of the way! I got to lay on the same rock so I can shoot the other sheep that's with them. Like, move out of the way." And
So
he's-
this was like, it was probably a whole year after I got back from that deployment, because as
Yeah,
soon as I
actually.
got back from the deployment, him and I went and shot a sheep. All was well, no issues.
yeah, this was the second sheep hunt, I
Um,
guess. Actually,
This was the second sheep hunt after that.
This is when you
so
moved
it was
to
almost
Nevada.
a year. And I will say, it took when I got back from that deployment, it probably took a good year before everything set in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know how the rhythm goes, Trent. You come home. I moved to Nevada. I'm there at, doing all the Air Force weapons school stuff. That ops tempo is crazy. Learning, I'm assigned on A10s now there, so I'm learning a whole new platform. You're too busy to think about what just happened for the last year,
Yeah.
right?
You got to
As
move your
that-
family. You got to get a new
As that
house.
rhythm,
and-
as that rhythm started to set and that all settled out, and that I became a normal. That's when all the darkness crept back in. That's when you start thinking about, like, all right, I'm in a rhythm. I'm not busy. I'm not trying to figure out a whole new airframe and the ops tempo of this and how weapon school operates and two separate flying hour programs on one airframe. Just the chaos. Once that became something ingrained in my brain, and I knew everything's kosher.
Yeah.
You then just slow down, right? And you start processing. And then I started processing that whole 365 days, and man, it went bad quick.
Yeah.
Bad quick.
well, and that was kind of like the whole time frame. I think like you and I even had that like really rough elk hunt together. That was like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like 2-3 weeks after we shot sheep, actually.
Yeah.
Like it was all the same time frame, and I think that's like really when it hit you. It's like that next like whole calendar year, whenever like you were more settled in and like actually probably like more into your role and everything at work, and you had more time to like actually break everything down, like in your head and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it at that point in time, hunting wasn't working, right? The hunting and healing wasn't working. It
No.
wasn't not working.
We're past the scope.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah,
honestly, like full transparency, like me and Ryan were like butting heads, and like if anything, it was probably making it worse. Like it
Mhm.
just wasn't good. Like
Yeah.
Dude, before we get too far away from it, and forgive me for prying, but I'm going to, because I think it's good for you. But whenever you say, like, I got in my battle rhythm, life slowed down, and then it all kind of started to creep back in, expand on that a little bit more.
I will, and I'll do this very, 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 very cryptically. I know Matt will probably listen to this. Was my chief at the time. So I was in a leadership role in charge of the unit with Matt, his assistant. He was in charge of the unit. And we had a dude. All right, so we're living in Las Vegas, right? The old Las Vegas, Nevada. You can get into a lot of trouble around there if you're young and dumb.
Correct.
Even if you're not dumb, you're just just get into trouble.
Just there.
So one of my guys, right? He's on the interstate, one of the loops. He's coming to work. Apparently, he's speed racing, driving crazy. He has a pretty sick little BMW M3. Gets to work, and apparently somebody followed him. Thought he was driving crazy. Followed him to base. Who also happened to be military. Came onto base. This woman stomped into my office with him, starts yelling at me about him driving crazy. Bro, dude, I came unglued. Because again, all this is going on right at home. Like in my mind, I'm not well, right? I'm not good. So this chick, fairly high ranking, one rank below me, comes in my office and starts letting me have it with my dude standing right there. So she's chewing me out in front of my guy in my office. I don't even know who she is. I can tell you guys just by knowing me, you already know she screwed up. She done messed up as soon as she walked in the door. And because of everything going on in my life, I came absolutely unglued on her.
She became the punching bag of a lot of demons that were there that she didn't bring up.
And I let her have it. I said, I think it's about time you exit this building. Not only do you exit this building, but you exit this unit. This is not your unit. You don't have the clearance to be in this building. I don't know who she is. She could have been. Who knows who she was? She didn't belong in the F-22 building. That's for sure. And she gave me lip back, and I picked up the phone and I said, I'm gonna call security forces. It's up to you. You can stay. You can leave. And she continued to explain to me that my airman was an idiot, reckless, and all this. And so she left, asked her to leave, calm down for a minute. The whole time Matt's in his office has no idea this is even going on. And so I finally, I got my guy in there and I look at him and I was just like, brother, I ain't mad at you. I was more mad that she pursued him, telling me what he's doing. She pursued him. She comes on to base, comes to my office, starts ripping me apart. And I'm like, well, I was just sitting here. I hadn't even had my energy drink yet, I'm like going through morning meeting stuff. And I was, in a good mood until that. So I look at him and I'm not going to tell you not to do anything that I've never done. And this was tough for me, man, because I'm sitting here in Las Vegas. I've got a buddy, and I'm doing photography stuff. I've got a buddy that's got, a bumper delete Lamborghini and McLarens, and we're out on the weekends taking pictures and doing things in cars. And here I am with this young kid with an M3 that just let it rip to work, and I'm sitting there like, I ain't even mad, bro. It's just don't have someone follow me at some point in time in this area, because you get this about the same stuff when we're trying to get cool rollers and stuff. So of course, being the person I am, the leadership that I believe in, I tell him like, hey man, you ain't done nothing I haven't done. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and act like I'm anybody better than you. I said I just, my job is to make sure that your health and well-being and you're safe and all that. And I'm like, let's not do it on the way to work. Like, if you need to go rip on the I-15 to do some stuff and enjoy yourself, like
Saturday is a great day for that, man.
Maybe not on the way to work in the morning. And he came to the unit. He hit his car like 2 units down when he pulled into work, and I'm just like, dude, like I'm not even mad, but like let's do it better next time. Like let's, And he laughed and we're talking. I'm like, yeah, man. Like he's like, well, I'm really sorry. I was like, dude, I truly, like, I'm not lying to you. This isn't a joke. It's not fake. I don't care. Just don't do it on the way to work. Like make sure you're okay. You're a grown man. You know the laws. You know the speed limit. You know what you should and shouldn't do. It's up to you to do that, not up to me. But I said, I'm never going to let you get chewed out. And if, like, for one, she's not going to chew me out. She doesn't own you. What she did was inappropriate to chase you all the way here. And I pretty much defended him. And we laughed. We talked about his BMW for a little bit. And I said, man, I truly felt like I handled that. Like when he left, I went and told Matt, I was like, hey, man, we got a little bit of an issue. We might get some more heat on this one from somebody. She's probably going to go to security forces. And, I told him what I said. And he was like, well, did we handle what's his name? And I was like, yeah, it's good. Who cares? And he was just like, yeah, it's pretty stupid, but yeah,
Whatever.
Why on the way to work? Both of us were like, high on the way to work. Like, come on, man. We were just like, be smarter. We both cared about the kid. Neither of us were mad, you know, no consequences, just readjust. You're already late for work. This is already enough nonsense. Just don't do it again. Right. And dude, it wasn't, oh, I don't know, had to have been a week or two later. We get a phone call late at night from Matt, about they found him in his car with a GSW to his stomach.
Mm.
Same kid. Survived. He's at the hospital. He's downtown. Right. And so I'm sitting there. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. And it couldn't have been a week, dude. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, well, immediately I felt responsible, right? Like, I was like, well, I just ripped this lady up and down right in front of him. And then, you know, kind of got onto him about, not got onto him, but like I could have seen how it, like maybe it came across, I was calling him stupid, right? Maybe it came across as like, you know, I was placing blame on myself regardless of how it came across. I was blaming myself, right? Like, this is, I caused this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I put him in an uncomfortable situation. He got escorted up into my office, who's, you know, between Matt and I, like the last two offices as a young airman you ever want to be in. You know, if you're in one of our offices, you did something wrong. And for that matter, right? You get escorted up into our office. Now, we were good about always having them come in. Like, Matt would pour coffee and have airmen come sit and talk about life, and we really worked hard to have a great environment. And I think that's why it hit me so hard, right? Because
You
we had
thought you
built
were
this
crushing
unit
it,
to,
then
we built this unit to where we knew all these kids were taken care of, and we were taking care of them. And then you get a phone call that, you know, he's slumped in someone found him out in the desert, you know, gunshot wound to the stomach, and you immediately start going, oh, okay, maybe I got this one wrong too, you know. Not, and not, again, complete non-factor. Like, that conversation about that morning about his car was, come to find out later, was a complete non-factor to that decision, right?
yeah.
But you know, I went and visited him in the hospital, and I'm standing next to his bed, and it started processing again. Like, man, like, I'm sitting thinking about, you know, my entire career, all the friends I've lost to suicide, all the fellow unit guys I've worked with that I've lost, not a ton of, you know, like I said, two really close friends, but you know, you're just always around that, and it's always there. And then, you know, I'm at a point in life where hunting's not working, right? Like, the hunting is healing's not working. Like, it worked once and it's not working now. Like, I'm not able to escape, and it doesn't work. And then you start having these thoughts and all this creep in and all of that. And, you start really internalizing, like, you're standing next to his hospital bed thinking, like, man, this is just it. This is how this is, you know. It's taken me 18 years to figure out in the military that this is just how this is.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we deal with. This is the life, you know. It's just part of it. And it was that moment there where I sought professional help, right? Like, I sat down and talked to somebody and just said, hey, it's heavy on me. Not that I was having any bad, you know, I wasn't in jeopardy myself of anything bad. It's just, it's too heavy to bear, that all of this stuff, and you're the person that's always, you know, there to help somebody, or you're just, you know, it's a cycle of things that it was heavy. And, you know, so you get back, you know, when you say get back to hunting, like, I have found that I have been exposed to all this same stuff in the last 18 years that everyone else has, that we've served with, that we currently work with. Like, we've all been exposed to it, right?
Hmm.
Traumatic experiences, really hard deployments, being a, you know, senior leader that no one ever prepped you for getting onto your kid, and then having your same, you know, getting onto your troop, and then that same troop, you know, attempting suicide. No one walks you through that, right? Nobody tells you that. So, to tie that all back into the hunting piece, is, had I not had hunting my whole life, I don't know that I would be as resilient or as patient with all of that, right? I don't know that I would be as methodical in how I lead, right? I think about every conversation I have with my guys. Why? Because you never know when you're gonna get the phone call that something like that happened, right?
Yeah.
Or you never know when one of your dudes is gonna go up an aircraft and have to punch out. Um, you never know what's next, and this life is really easy to never know what's next in the sphere of the military that we live in. You never know what's next. So you start to become very methodical and patient and processed in all of your conversations, all your decisions. You don't get mad at people as easily as you used to, because you don't know. You truly it's such a hard thing to explain, and I think you know what I'm getting at is not to say that every conversation could be the last, but it could,
Yeah.
right? Or you're the catalyst of someone else's mental health, and you never want to be that guy. So I didn't want this to be a super heavy episode, but maybe it needs to be. Maybe it went that way because it's part of who I am, and it's built who I am now today. But man, without hunting, without the always having that place, even when it didn't work, right, it still worked,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm a deer hunter, right? I love deer hunting. Deer hunting's Cole will tell you. Cole knows how slow and methodical I am with deer. If I didn't have that built up ability, I don't think I would process. I think I would panic in certain situations, but with that, I'm able to really be calculated, right, and really understand second and third order. And I would say my ability to hunt and my skill as a hunter has tremendously impacted the way I lead.
Yeah.
Because it makes you slow down and it makes you think.
I think that it's a really cool perspective how a lot of what it's been for me has almost been kind of that second order effect, if you will, and like
Yeah.
after the fact. But I think with yours, you being so much further in your career than I am per se, and like you've been doing it for 18 years, I'm approaching 6.5, very different phases of our career, right? But the hunting piece was very much so healing for me because of like the experience that I had that we talked about on the last episode. But I think it's really, really cool that you have that, but also the other thing is it's also not only is it a healing thing after the fact, it's a a preparation piece for conversations that you have with other guys as well. And like you never like the conversations that you and Cole had on a mountain, maybe it sparked a thought in your brain, and then some wisdom came out of that, and then that wisdom got you know port- bestowed upon some young A1C that needed your help later in life, right?
Right.
It's really cool how it all fits back together. It can be the
Yeah.
thing you need after something, or it could be the answer that you didn't know you needed yet,
It could just be the foundational bedrock to take you through situations
Mhm.
that, I'll joke with Cole and Jim, and I talk about it, like the old 16B, the Gila Wilderness, right? If you can pack in that sumbitch for, 12 days and do that, you can pretty much handle anything else in life. And I think that Cole would agree. I think there's a lot to that, right? Like, there's never, there's never a thing at work that's going to be as mentally taxing and challenging as packing out an elk out of the backcountry from, you know,
Oh, I
6 or
agree.
7 miles back. Like, if you didn't quit on that, you're not going to quit on a situation at work.
They don't tend to run
Like,
up the hill after they've been shot, which is pretty tough.
no, and they get heavier when they're dead, I think.
Well,
The
it's just
gain
not very
weight.
smart to shoot two of them in like 24 hours.
That Cole and I shot 2 bulls way back in the wilderness together in a span of we had like 3 days. We packed out elk for about 3 days. Literally packed. We didn't hunt. We were packing out elk. For
This
about
was
3
actually
days.
the first elk hunt that we did like right after that deployment. Like it was like jumped right
No,
into
that was
it.
after Kunsan, I think, wasn't it? Or
No, this was the one right when you
No, it was
moved to
after that.
Vegas.
Yeah.
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 This was like right when you got back. The first hunting
So like when you
season.
do hard stuff like that, and I think when you can find peace in hard, challenging stuff, but then you can also translate it to life or to professional life, right? Like I think it's helpful. So whereas like hunting is healing for you, hunting is my basis for my decision making, right?
Yeah.
It's my basis for how I conduct myself. It's why I stay calm in tense situations, because and it's crazy to say potentially that, like, they're like, oh, hunting keeps you calm in the military. Well, yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, are we not just
Hunting.
I mean, I hate to say it, but the United States Air Force is in the business of
Yeah. We break other people's
seeking
shit.
and finding and,
It's quite
taking care
literally
of
my
business.
entire job
Yeah.
description. Every day I go to work, I learn how to break something that somebody else has. That's it.
Yeah.
If you want to boil it down, that's all I do. I break other people's stuff. I deliver heat and light to communities in need.
So you're an electrician.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, I mean, to tie it back and yeah, hunting is hunting, right? Hunting, there is so much more to it, because once you start connecting it all to life and things, like there's situations that uh I don't know that I'd have made it through if I didn't have hunting.
Yeah, man.
And I say that, like, not lightly. For the record and clarity, like, I'm perfectly fine now mentally, right? We work together. We talk about a lot of things together. The three of us, Jim, Dan. We have a great network of buddies here that we all talk with. But if you are like struggling with stuff, like, it's okay to talk to somebody, man. Like, you need to go
Absolutely.
talk to somebody. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I need a therapist. It's like, no, you need to say some shit. You need to get it off your chest that, you know, it's not for all ears. So take it to a professional.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing weak about that. I think there's a lot of weakness and keeping it to yourself, and that's what I did the first time around, right? When my brother passed, that was pure straight weakness, is acting like I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah.
People die. Like, oh yeah, sure, but it still, it causes a long-term trauma. So, I think acting hard about stuff like that is kind of weak.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. I think dude, kind of after we've kind of got this podcast kicked off here, and what it is for you, what it is for me, what it is for Cole, and as we're moving,
Mine was so sad.
what?
What I think is for me.
But what I'm getting at though is, like,
Uh,
hunting is a core piece of who all three of us
Right.
are, and
Right.
I think it's just been really awesome. I would imagine the people that listen to this, hunting's probably a core value in their life as well, and like, I really think the whole point of all this is just to bring light to the things it can do for you, or what it can help you get through in the future as well.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're
Yeah.
still listening to this after all 4 of these episodes, keep putting in for those tags that should be out next week. Keep planning that deer hunt, or continue to look for that thing. If it's growing from a hobby to a thing you look forward to every month, like, continue to add value into it, because it's going to, you're going to reap what you sow there. It's going to continue to add value to your life as well, whether it is healing, whether it is preparation, whether it is peace, or whether it is you getting accustomed to moments of chaos so that you handle it better in life. I just think it's really awesome how everybody's perspective is different on what it is for them, but it all roots down the same thing, and it all makes our lives better, which is the whole point of this podcast. Is we're trying to shed light on how hunting isn't just the killing of an animal. It's a thing that adds value to not only your life, but to others,
Yeah, but we're here to kill something still, right?
It's always the goal. Yes,
Yeah.
that is the objective, and it is
I
graded.
don't have fun not filling tags.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
heard about that story today, actually.
Yeah, it causes emotional trauma.
I had to go on another
When you let
hunt
a
to
deer
heal
like
from that
walk
hunt.
past you, and then you got to heal from that.
Went back to Florida and shot a
Ryan
doe.
would be going to therapy if that happened to him today.
Yeah,
Dude, if I let a 190 walk past me today under 30 yards, there would be
I'd be driving to your house to kick you
Problems.
myself.
problems.
your
Yeah.
your therapist would be like, "You're an idiot."
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm not passing a 190 if I know that that's all that's there. But if I know that there's $2 pushing two bills that
yeah.
are with him, and they just didn't happen to walk past, I'm gonna pass him again. I'm gonna do it again every time.
Yeah. Well, I feel
Yeah.
like now, like we've all grown as hunters. Like not to say that there's a better chance we'd kill him now, but like I think we're way more knowledgeable. We probably we've learned a lot more. So now it's
I
not
mean,
this.
I was good then. It was just it was a game of chess.
But you're
And
crazy to
you
think that you
can't.
were better then than you are now. You know?
No, I'm way better now than I was
Yeah.
then. Of course, yeah, it's 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm old and wise now. I guess.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you're the old baby boomer.
yeah,
No,
okay,
I'm not that
boomer.
old. Jeez.
Ryan is objectively a boomer.
Still in the mid 30s, bro. I'm not that old.
Oh,
Give me a
don't say
break.
mid 30s. You're late 30s, bro.
Yeah, you're pushing
You
40 is
clearly
how I
went
would
to
put
school in
that.
New Mexico.
No, pushing 40. My
Pushing.
God.
Oh, he's
Pushing it,
pushing.
dude. Well,
Not even
Ryan,
close.
thank you for walking us into the recesses of your mind. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah,
somebody
you
else.
usually leave those conversations for a hunting camp or something, but
Well, it's kinda what
hunting's
this
so
is,
much
huh?
more. It's more than Instagram and the YouTubes and the OnlyFans. When I mean, does anybody do OnlyFans for hunting?
I'm sure there's a few. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
All the huntresses.
So yeah, like I feel like for the three of us to sum it all up, is hunting something we're doing because it's the thing to do, or are we doing it because it means something? I would fight anyone that tells me that I'm only hunting for the gram. I would literally fight you, and I would win. Sound like Donald Trump, right? I would win.
I'm gonna win. I'm the best fighter you've ever seen. There's not another fighter that's better than me.
But yeah, I mean, if someone came up to you right now and said, "Oh, I think you hunt for the wrong reasons. You hunt for the gram," I can tell you right now that there's some darkness will come. Yeah, some darkness is gonna come up real quick. Because it means something. Like, again, I believe that hunting has saved my life multiple times. I truly do.
And I'd argue with
Um,
preparation, it's helped save other guys' lives that you have no idea either.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'm talking second
It's
and third order
enabled
effects.
conversations that, because just like we've always said, the military, you're just straight up, right? There's no beating around the bush. You just say what you need to say. Hunting also breeds that for non-military guys, right? I've instilled that into Cole. He knows now when he's with any of us, you just say what you need to say. And I think he's taken that on with our other friends that are, civilian guys. I think we've been able to kind of push, Jim and I have pushed that to Cole that, hey, bro, like you just say what you need to say. Right. And we may have to vent to each other or vent to our other buddies and say, hey, we're struggling. And they give you guidance to kind of go back to the situation. But, you just, you get it out there, and it's very similar in hunting. Like,
Yeah.
we just say what we need to say when we're sitting on a glassing knob because we both want to kill that animal, right? So there's no sense in like, well, I think we should do this, but I don't want to say it. No, say it. We need to know. I want to know. It's the same way at work, right? You know that, Trent. Like, debriefs for days of,
Yeah.
bro, you suck at flying an F-16.
Checks. That is valid for validity.
And I think it's just such a powerful thing when you really totally get lost in it, right? And it translates all over life. So
I agree.
if all of the podcasts, the YouTubes, the socials, the whatever disappeared tomorrow, would you still hunt? Would you still find that reason beyond the photography, the deals, the contract, whatever bull crap is out there these days that we all it's so shoved down your face, like in your face, right? That I think we forget that there are people that truly live this. I don't know.
And that
It's
care.
not shown enough. So
Yeah.
I guess if we can show it.
Show
Yeah.
it.
Wrap us up, Cole. We've been going. It's okay that this one's a little longer, I guess, huh?
I
We haven't done
appreciate
one
it.
in a while.
No, it's not too bad at
Yeah.
all. No, I think it was sweet. It was needed, and yeah, we can kind of kick it off into some more episodes now going forward. Hopefully, all of our schedules line up, and we can kind of keep it going.
We'll keep it going, even if it's just one or two of us at a time.
Yeah.
I'll get on like Theo and do my solo podcast.
Oh gosh.
All right. Well, my memory card just ran out of space. So what perfect timing. Am I right? That's
did it really?
that is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Turn
Yeah,
that
there we
little-
go.
That little doofer off. Thanks. Episode 4. Ryan, you're the man. Peace.